Tabo, and you are watching The Big Issue. Now, over the decades, from the time of the Electricity Company of Nigeria to the National Electric Power Authority to Power Holding Company of Nigeria, down to this era of privatization when we now have the triumvirate of power generation, transmission, and distribution companies, electricity has remained epileptic all over the country, with questions being asked about the billions of dollars sunk into the various power projects without anything significant to show as value for the huge funds invested in the power sector. So, as Nigerians warm up to the possibility of increase in electricity tariff, many are questioning the rationale behind a tariff hike without a proper and efficient metering system. Now, Barrister Libros Oshoma is the head attorney of Libros Oshoma Chambers and a public and social affairs commentator. He is here to question the agitation for tariff hike in the face of the high poverty ratio in the country, and also to argue the possibility of the hike before an efficient and functional metering system. Come on, guys, put your hands together for him. Libros, you can do better than that. Come on. Thank you. Well, of course, he is not going to be doing this alone. He has a strike partner, and his name is Oluwaseye Lawa. He's a legal practitioner, a partner, and head of the energy team at LNA Legal Consultants, a law consulting firm based in Ikoyi, Lagos. He's of the view that paying the appropriate price is key to stable electricity. Therefore, an increase in tariff before metering shouldn't be an issue. Now, the issue for him is that Nigeria and Nigerians will never realize their full potentials unless and until we have stable electricity supply, and we cannot have full and stable electricity supply unless and until government allows the discos to charge appropriate market price for electricity with minimal regulatory oversight by NERC. Come on, guys, put your hands together for him. You can do better now. Come on. Well, as it is right now, we are going to be kicking start this show in grand style. All you need to do right now is sit back, relax, and enjoy the conversation from both ends as we flag this up. Now, I'll be starting first of all with Barrister Libros Oshoma. Now, you are of the opinion that the metering system should be in place before the hike. Now, you want to start quickly.
Yes, briefly. This is not the first time we're experiencing a hike. And every time there is a price hike, the issue is so that we will have, stable electricity. Yeah. We are starting from 1999, even before the privatization. When eventually they were privatized, the question was, what if we are able to hike the price, appropriate pricing, and then we'll be able to generate more, invest more. We are starting from 1999, even before the privatization. When eventually they were privatized, the question was, what if we are able to hike the price, appropriate pricing, and then we'll be able to generate more, invest more, because according to them, the discos are assessing loans from the banks and they need to pay back. But then you're looking at it just from one end of the divide. You're also, not looking at the consumers, because if you were talking about providing electricity, it's like you're buying a product and then you're saying there shouldn't be a standard for measuring that product. I should just give you money because you have invested money. And I am saying, no. I want it to be a win-win situation. While you are talking about increase, let me also know why I should pay more. And if I am going to pay more, let me pay for what I consume. If I ate half banana, I want to pay for half banana.
Come on, guys, put your hands together. All right, Barrister, you are very clear with this stand he just gave us right now. And he's saying, look, for a proper system to be appropriated, we need to do the right things. Now, he is saying, look, you cannot afford to sell a product without giving the standard price for those who are consuming the product to actually have it. So what's your stand? You are saying it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to have, the system doesn't have to come into place before it comes into place. So how do you start too?
My position is very clear. Energy stability, availability is important and is the foundation for the growth of this country. Right. Nigeria will not attain its potential without stable electricity.
Right.
And I insist that we cannot have that stable electricity without appropriate pricing. Mark my word, appropriate pricing. My colleague on the other side has talked about price hike over the years. And that's the bane of our problem. Because the politicians will not tell us the truth. They talk about price hike. I'm not talking about price hike. I want appropriate pricing. Let us pay a price that reflects cost so that the discos will be able to access loan and do more. They will be able to change transformers. But as today, because government is interfering, there's a big distinction between intervention and interfering. Because of politics, government do not want to tell you the truth. Check the price of electricity in advanced countries and fellow West African countries, and you will see that Nigeria is one of the lowest. How? So my position is very clear. We must be able to walk the talk. If Nigerians keep talking about as is done in advanced country, my elite like us will tell us, let's go to Senate climes because you have electricity. What's the cost of the electricity over there? We should be ready. We should be ready to pay appropriate price for the electricity.
All right.
Without that, we'll be going in cycle.
All right, thank you very much. Come on, put your hands together once again. You got his angle correctly now. Now he is saying, look, it doesn't matter. The availability is the most important. Now you are saying a proper metering system should come into play for availability to happen so that consumers can be happy. Now, how do you really reconcile this argument? Because he is saying, look, Nigerians have been complaining about electricity for a long time, and I know for real that if consumers have availability of electricity, maybe other issues will be taken care of later on. But you are saying, come on, for that issue to happen, we need a proper metering system so that consumers can be happy. So what's your stand this time around?
I quite appreciate the position of my colleague because he's seriously swimming against the tide. And I salute his courage for holding this position because it's not a populist one. But be that as it may, he talked about the cost of electricity kilowatts in other countries. He also, one thing he has failed to mention is that in those places, you pay for what you consume. You don't just wake up and say, yes, we agree, there should be appropriate pricing. But in a bid to hoodwink us, they always and consistently be talking about appropriate pricing. 2015, it was appropriate pricing. And then at some point, they even talked about meter maintenance. And then people say, no, you can't maintain a meter that you have installed and that you never visit, apart from coming to read it.
Exactly.
And so that became a big issue. And so the question now is, you are talking about pricing. Some of the manufacturers in Nigeria will not even mind if you pay 1,000 naira per kilowatt. But they don't want a situation where you come at the end of the month, you say your bill is 300,000 naira. Meanwhile, for the whole of the month, they only had to light for 2 days. So that's where the problem is. In my office, I've been begging Ikeja Electricity, give me meter. This month, they bring a bill of 50,000 naira. Next month, they bring another one of 70,000 naira. And yet, I run on diesel almost every day.
What a magic.
And so, and that's why I am saying that instead of selling electricity, instead of selling darkness for me at the price of appropriate pricing, rather give me meter so that if you are charging 1,000 naira per kilowatt, if I decide not to use electricity, I will want to remain in darkness. And not when you say, oh yes, appropriate pricing is 50 naira per kilowatt, and because I don't have a meter, at the end of the day, I don't even know how you're charging me. That's my problem.
Come on, guys. I do not envy you at this point.
Very well.
Definitely. Now, you are still crying out for availability. Now, look at what he just said. Look, you can't come and give me a bill, and I do not even know what I have consumed. I mean, look at it from this angle. You are saying availability, which is very, very key to Nigeria's development. But then again, a consumer is saying, if you're bringing a bill, then there should be an appropriate measure in which that bill should be justified.
Let me first say, like my colleague said, my position may not be popular, and I like that. It is not a popularity contest.
Come on, guys. Come on, guys. Come on, guys.
We are here to tell ourselves the honest truth,
Right.
not about popularity.
Yeah.
Now, let's go to the meat of the matter. Like my colleague have said, let's look at metering Nigeria. I will ask him, do we even know the number of the meter gap, the number of people without meter today? And I will tell you, PwC, one of the renowned auditing firms in this country and all over the world, they have done a study. And they came out and said they are looking at about 40 million people without meter, or people with old, not smart meter, or non-functioning meters.
40 million.
About 40 million. Now let me ask my colleague, do we even know the cost of a meter? Now this is the meat of the matter. Averagely, one phase meter is about 40,000 naira. Three phase meter is about, let's say, 69 to 70,000.
59,000.
69. That's why I approximate it's about 69. Now, please do a rough mathematics and calculate that. Multiply, let's put it on average, 50,000 naira. Multiply it by that million of people. You will get more than 1.5 trillion naira. And that's the problem. And that's what the politicians will not tell you. Now, we made a fundamental mistake because we want to be popular. When the unbundling of PSN happened, government, in the best interest of Nigerians, they came up with a policy insisting that the disco should give you the meter free of charge. I don't want the meter free of charge. Let me pay for that meter so that, like he said, I won't have to pay estimated bill. But because the government wants to make us happy, they asked them, these discos took loan to buy the asset from the government. Most of those loans were in foreign exchange. We all know what has happened with the exchange rate in the last 5 years, in the last 4 years, in the last 8 years. So they are even unable to service most of those loans. Because they are not selling at cost-reflective prices, the banks do not want to give them new loans. So how will they give you the free meter? Now, if we understand this, then we go back to what my colleague was saying, and I will ask you, this is a generational issue. Which one comes first? Is this the egg or the chick?
Guys, come on.
If we insist that meter us first, then we will not have stable electricity for foreseeable future.
Come on.
And I'm saying, and I'm standing here insisting, there's a bitter pill to be taken.
All right.
That bitter pill is to have appropriate pricing.
All right.
Once we have that, like he said in the Holy Book, yes, seek the kingdom of God first, and every other thing shall follow. And I'll give you an example. When the GSM technology was permitted in Nigeria, we all know the cost price of a SIM card. Without mentioning name, one of the network even insisted that the smallest unit of recharge they would do was 1,500. It's not 1,500 of today. That 1,500 of that time is more than 15,000 naira of today. But do you know what? A SIM card is now less than 100 naira. Why? So let's take this bitter pill. Let's ensure that the disco can collect money and get meter, then all of us will benefit down the line. The problem with Nigerians is we are a generation of instant gratification. We want our benefits now.
Please, I hope you will give me the same time.
Of course.
Because
You have
I
all
asked
the
too many
time.
questions.
Definitely,
I will
I
answer
will.
all of them. I will attempt to answer all of them one after the other.
I trust you. I trust you.
And it is very simple.
All right.
As simple as this. You're talking about the discos bought assets.
Yeah.
Before they bought assets, they did what you call due diligence. And they priced these assets. In some cases, let's be fair to ourselves, some of these assets were packaged and handed over to cronies. That was why when this administration came on board, some people were of the view that they should be, the privatization process in the power sector should be reviewed. But the government said, no, we want stability, irrespective of how they got it. And it is presumed also that you did due diligence and you knew what you were buying. And then when government came and said, give meter freely, I can tell you also that nobody gave meter freely. What they did was to build the costs into the metering. They tell you, you get the meter, but anytime you vend your meter, we'll subcharge you for that meter. I paid the meter in my house, I paid 59,000 naira for a 3-phase meter. And so nobody gave me meter free. And I also, so at the end of the day, they still made the money, even extra. Just like when a bank gives you a loan to buy a car, and they tell you that don't worry, you'll be paying small. You end up paying times 3 of that car. It was the same thing that they did. When you end up calculating, because of the cost of the loan taking, you end up paying almost 100,000 for a product of 59,000 naira. That was on one side because we were paying small, more like mortgage. Yeah. So we paid. And so now the question is, after some time, they now said meter maintenance. Yeah. And the people were of the view that no, you can't be charging me to maintain a meter when in the actual sense you are not maintaining it. Yeah. And then government now came, he made a suggestion. Government said that give meter freely, and since they can no longer access loan, let us have appropriate pricing. Why don't you, instead of discussing that appropriate pricing, right? At some point, even when the Gencos were complaining that they were going to generate enough electricity, right, that if they are not evacuated, they would be the loser. Government put down 500 billion naira as backup, that if you generate and you are not able to sell, you can take access money from that amount. Secondly, on this same issue, now that you're talking about appropriate pricing, right, what would have been the best thing to do? That these meters, we would rather sell them to you so we make money from it.
We'd rather sell them to you so that we make money from it. Hold it right there. Come on, guys, put your hands together for him. Now, Thomas Edison, the inventor of electric power, once said, we will make electricity so cheap that only the rich will burn candles. Now, what a saying. I will be very quick to go on this very quick break, and when we return, the debate continues. Come on, this is still the big issue. Joining us, this is still the big issue. Should efficient metering system be put in place before tariff hike? Now, the debate is still on, and we have these two gentlemen here still holding down their positions. Now, liberals, you were on a track before we had to cut you off a bit, so you might want to quickly round that up before I move on to...
And so I said that what would have been the appropriate thing to do? Right. You said government insisted that you give free meter. And now that you don't have funds, you don't have 1-point-something trillion to give those free meter. But that 1-point-something trillion is residual in your customers. What would be the best thing to do? Look, government, we can't give free meter. Rather, we'll sell this free meter. I can tell you for free, even if you ask the audience today, that there are so many people who will rather borrow money to buy meter than pay all these estimated bills.
No. Fantastic. Hold on, before you go on. If you're saying, they are saying this 1-point-something trillion that is the residual amount on ground, that they will insist people pay for it. Are you even sure they have up to 40 million meters on ground to be paid for?
That's another question, but I will answer that quickly. It's a man who is selling, let me say, tubers of yam, for example. You don't go buy 40 million tubers of yam because you are projecting a market of 40 million. What you do, you can buy 1 million. And the moment you sell out those 1 million, you go back to buy another 1 million. In no time, in less than 6 months, you would have metered the entire country. But no, because they make money from...
In less than 6 months, you will have metered
the entire
and you
country.
Clap? What's going on?
Let me give you an instance. Okay. I live in an estate in Bagada.
Right.
Do you know the entire estate? It took 2 guys, just 2 men, about 2 weeks to meter the entire estate.
Come on.
Because
Bravo.
Here, we encourage mediocrity, we encourage laziness, we encourage fleecing of the public. Because you say, oh yes, bank cannot give them loan to provide electricity. And so they should go rather and kill the goose that is laying the golden egg, which is the customer. You should pay indiscriminately because I can't provide you meter. And that man that is paying indiscriminately does not even know when the meter will come. And so, what government should be doing, and I insist that government today should insist that, okay, if a free meter cannot be available, before you apply the new tariff, you must first and foremost meter that place. Any place that is not meter should not, the new tariff should not apply.
Leo, you heard him.
Very well.
Now, here is the big question I want to throw to you before you continue. Now, you have a project you want to instill. What was wrong in following due process to make sure this process was finalized to a very good point? Now, you know you were supposed to distribute meters. Why was there not an appropriate measure or channel to make this meter available in the first place? Why the running around and the late hour situation that has brought us to this very point?
Let me say this, and I sympathize with most Nigerians because they don't have information at their fingertips. And I blame the discourse, I blame the government. I even blame the regulatory authority, the NERC.
Yeah.
Because the questions you asked, and what my colleague said about people ready to pay for meter or he paid for meter in his estate, all these things has been put in place by government. But unfortunately, information is power. When you don't have it, there's nothing you can do. Now, let me start from the beginning. When the PHN was unbundled, there was what we call PA. It's a performance agreement signed by all the discos, the incoming. Don't forget, they came in to inherit this asset. When they got in, they realized that most of the physical assets, including transformers, wiring, light, everything, they are in a total state of disrepair. And it will cost them billions or trillions to put them in order. So what do you do as an entrepreneur, as a manager of resources? It's sweet talk to say, oh, give everybody meter one day. Is it realistic? The thing with us is, like I said, we are a generation of instant gratification. There's no magic anywhere in the world. It's painstakingly planning over a period of time. So,
the question would be, Mark, sorry.
Let him land. You're coming to you.
When government realized that the PA agreement is not working, very innovatively, they came up with what they call capping. And that was what my colleague benefited from. But like I said, he himself did not even know the origin or the fact that in the beginning.
Now you're telling me.
That's the fact. In the beginning, discos were given the meter free. But like every process all over the world, there's a period for reevaluation. So the stakeholder met and they agree on what? This capping is a credit advance metering system, whereby the consumer, because government was still insisting that you have to, the disco has to provide it free of charge. So what I would like to correct my colleague on the other side was that the meter you paid for was only a credit. And this is the way it worked. So you pay for the meter will be supplied to you. Then government insisted that the discos will start paying back each time you recharge. And to favor the customer, the government also insisted that money must bear interest. So they don't only take your money, they're also paying you interest on that money. So it's like they're borrowing from a bank. Since they can't access the bank, they created this system. You customer borrow them the money. So each time you recharge, they give you part of your money and it's spread over a period of time. Now, while we are on that, as usual with the Nigerian government, new people came in. What did they do? They said, oh no, why should the customer even advance money to the disco? And capping was abolished. This is not peculiar, policy somersault is not peculiar to the electricity sector. It's a general problem with us in Nigeria and most of the developing countries. Now, no, sorry, sir. Let me make this one so that people can understand.
Is agitating right now.
People can understand. Now, we have also moved even beyond that. We have a new system now, and it's called MAP. Now, under this new system, government has said, you know what, like he has suggested. So what he's suggesting, we are already doing it. It's lack of information. Government has already said, see, you know what, people are ready to pay for this meter. Okay, so they have gotten some investor to come in. This investor have the one that will take the meter, they are holding it, they use their money, then the customer will come and you will pay and the meter will be installed on your behalf. So if the issue today is about we are ready to pay, we have already done that. We are doing that presently.
All
so
right.
my colleagues should relax.
All right.
You see, if the question is, I always want to take it from where he stopped, so that for better understanding.
Yes, I know.
If it is about when you pay, once you pay, the new tariff applies to you. That's not what is obtainable here. And that's why we are complaining. I'm a consumer. That's why I'm complaining. So the question here, the issue here is, don't give me estimated billing. This idea of the meters are in somewhere, are with a customer or with a businessman. Let government come out, or let him, who is a consultant in this field, let us know the office that we can go and buy meter. I will tell you tomorrow, that office will be so crowded because everybody wants a meter. But the problem here is the fact that because they know that it's a way of fleecing the people, here you have the worst of us ruling the best of us, unfortunately. And so they know that, oh, banks are no longer giving us loan. So the only way we can make money is through the customer. And so that is why they will not tell you where to buy meter or where to get meter. You apply to the electricity distribution companies for eternity for meter. And then no meter will come because every month they continue to ask you to pay estimated bill. And when you complain, they will tell you, pay something first. I know a lot of people understand this, pay something first. And so,
Now you can clap.
whether you consume or not, they are fleecing you by asking you to pay something first. But if you ask them, if you tell them now, if government stands on its feet to say, look, you know what, your appropriate price or whatever you call it would not apply except you meter, or you can no longer give estimated bill. The customer must know what he is consuming. You'll be surprised that this meter they're telling you is not available, that it will take eternity to install. I will tell you in 3 months, they will install it because they want to make the money.
Come on.
Sorry, sir. Let me briefly respond to something.
Before you respond,
Okay.
you have listed so many policies that came into play. More than 4 now. Now, why is it so difficult for these power holding companies to come up with an avenue for appropriate information to the consumers? Because everything you've been saying here right now, I'm quite alien to some of them. And the consumers out there watching at home might now be wondering, so all these things happened at what time and what season did this thing happen? I mean, why is there no appropriate information to the consumers who actually need this light?
I completely agree with you that, and I said at the beginning of my take here, that the discourse, the regulatory authority have not done enough in terms of sensitizing the citizen. In fact, my colleague said something about where is the meter. Will it surprise you people if I tell you that you can apply for meter while sleeping on your bed through your mobile phone today? But see, this is the problem. People don't even know. If you're talking, we're in Lagos today.
People don't know because there was no information to that effect. And no commercials no commercial rolling, no advert on TV.
Completely.
How would they know?
Because they don't want you to know.
Part of the reason. You see, this is part of the reason we must give kudos to TVC.
Right.
And this is part of the reason why we are here. Programs like this is part of sensitizing the citizen. It's a corporate responsibility you are doing, bringing information to the grassroots.
Come on, you can give TVC. Come on. We did a good job. Why not? Fantastic.
Seriously speaking, just log on to, I don't want to mention the names of the discos, but you know the 2 discos operating in Lagos. Log on to their website. You will see them, big level. Click, and you apply for meter online under the new system map.
But
if information is power.
Applying for it online is one thing. Now getting the meter is another thing.
Now, let me also say this. You see, that's one thing with Nigerians, negativity. I've just given you information you didn't have. You're already thinking from it will not work. I'm an incurable, optimistic man.
All right.
I always see the cup half filled up, not half empty. You do the first leg. Try first. If it doesn't work, I'm coming, sir.
I have tried.
I'm coming, sir.
I have tried.
I'm coming, sir. And let me also say this, like I said, in economics, there's something they call the long run and the short run. Of course, like you two agreed, the man selling tuber of yam will not have 40 million tuber of yam on the table on the first day. In the short run, you cannot vary most of the factors of production. So at the beginning of this program, it will be unfair for us to expect that even the government has done a lot, but they don't say it. In the last 12 years, they have decreased the number of meters imported into the country. What do? They has back of industry to empower Nigerian local production of meters. NRC has a policy that says where there's a local variable or alternative to any product in the entire energy sector, you cannot import. They will not give you license to import. And today, I can say proudly, I won't do advertisements for them, so I won't mention their names. There are several companies now manufacturing these same meters that we are importing from China. So, what we need is a mindset change. It's a mentality change. That change is, I'm ready to pay for services. Okay. I will be honest with you. I'm not talking of, most Nigerians don't like paying for services. We all travel, we go overseas, we go to the UK. They say, oh, the train services. Ask my colleague, is it cheap? No. But in Nigeria, because of the oil boom of the early 70s, we are used to Father Christmas. And that's why I said from the beginning, government shouldn't have even promised to give the meter free of charge. Like my colleague said, Nigerians are ready to pay for you. Why are you promising them what you can't deliver? Our politicians will always give you promises they know they can't even keep.
Let me throw your question. Is it true that Nigerians don't like paying for services? No! Come on.
Sir, and to answer that question, I have applied for meter online for 2 months now. 2 months? Yes.
All right.
The first application, they say click the name, fill in the name of the owner of the premises. And I did. He rejected it. And then I put my name, he rejected it. And so, my problem with some of these things is that if you want to try a new thing, online platform, ensure that it's up and running and not Ijeyoje. Ensure that it's up and running. Because also, that will also enable
Before you continue, it appears some of us don't have meters. That's why we're not clapping. Come on, put your hands together once again. What's going on here?
And so the problem is, at the end of the day, you make it so cumbersome, and the information is not even available at all. I am shocked. I know a lot of people here also, and those listening now will be shocked that truly you can apply for a meter online. A lot of people didn't know. You will still have to go to some of these power company, the discos offices, and they tell you story here and there. Why? It is only one reason why they do that. Because they want to continually charge you estimated bill. If you look at towards the run of towards last year, you saw online there were a lot of posts where angry Nigerians were angry with the discos for even coming to disconnect places where you hardly give lights. You saw a man also who told one of the discos officials that he would remove his clothes. That is how angry people are when it comes to the issue of estimated billing and paying for darkness. Come on, guys. And so let me round up. Let me round up on this quickly.
Okay, quickly.
And so, will it be a big thing to do to say Nigerians are ready to pay? If you remember, the same thing with premium motor spirits. They say, no, Nigerians don't want to pay. You want to enjoy subsidy. And the question was, what government will do then? They will make it scarce. By the time you stay on the queue for a day to buy 20 liters that you use in traffic, and then tomorrow they increase the price, they say because, you don't want to stay in traffic. And then people started saying, no, let us even know the price so that let me know what I am paying for. The same thing with the GSM that he talked about. When GSM came, some people told us that we cannot charge per second billing, that it was a practical impossibility, that the network will take 8 years for us to, but another GSM company came, competition came, and then immediately, even before they started rolling out, they were already charging per second billing. That forced the price down. And then,
Now, the argument is on. Barrister Oluwaseye is saying what Nigerians need is constant power supply, and that does not come without tariff increase. Now, Barrister Liberals Oshoma says, allow the people to pay what they use by first installing an efficient metering system. Where do we stand? We go on this break, and when we return, we have members of the audience to get on this debate. Ladies and gentlemen, this is still the big... Come on. Just joining us, this is still the big issue. This particular debate never gets old at all. Metering system, hike in tariff, appropriate pricing is all we're talking about when it has to do with electricity and power supply. But right about now, we have to switch gears to the audience. They have not been clapping too energetically, in the past minutes. Probably some of them have no meters, but let's see how they can actually respond to this, because they've been agitating to say something. Come on, guys. It's your turn.
Yes, well done, sir. My name is Shakiru. My questions go to Mr. Oluwaseye.
All right.
Yes, sir. Could you recall that in the last few years, the Vice President said that the debt should be the wipe off, then everybody should now come back, start afresh. But right now, you are talking about the tariff, but we've not talked about the meter itself and the quality of that meter, and also how to regulate the meter. Sir, don't you think that now, as Barrister Liberal said, if we are going to get the meter, how are we going to regulate the light we consume in order not to pay this estimated bill, sir?
Like I said earlier, in the new system, what we have is the smart meters,
Right.
which means you only pay for what you consume.
Okay.
However, we have a choice to make. In the short run, where we don't have enough meters to get to everybody, are you willing to pay a premium to have stable electricity, or do you want to continue to go and buy diesel, petrol? You have what? Environmental pollution from the exhaust, from the smoke.
Yeah.
You have noise pollution. Even you can't sleep. You have to go and put it off or put it on. Discomfort. I'm saying here that we as a people, there's no, development is not a flight. It's a process. You don't move from A to Z in one day. Just like when you start in elementary school, kindergarten, you move step by step before you get to your tertiary institutions.
All right.
So my point is, are we ready to pay the price to get to that place? All those developed countries we are talking about, they didn't get there in one day. So my proposition is, are we ready to continue the old system? Or are we willing to move a bit and agree not to price hike, appropriate pricing? Right. The bane of this country is price hike. We have seen it in the fuel and petrol industry. We have to pay appropriate pricing. Now, coming to regulation of what you pay, we have an independent NEC. I can tell you today, the Ministry of Power is practically useless. You know why? No, seriously. And this you can confirm. The staff strength of that ministry has been reduced by more than 80% in the last 10 years because of the liberalization. So the GenCos, those who are generating, are practically private owned. Distribution, in fact, that is 100% private owned.
Right.
So government is only involved with transmission. And hopefully, even that we get out of that. So we have NEC that is regulating. The duty of NEC is to protect you and I, the consumers, and all over the world. And that's why I said at the beginning that what we need is not government interference, but regulatory.
Thank you very much. That will land there. Good. Okay.
My name is Ugo Matthew, and from the argument posed so far, sir, I feel that electricity has been a major problem confronting people of Nigeria. So what do you think is the best metering system for both in an economical way and in a technical way in the country Nigeria?
Okay. You got
like,
this question?
yes, very well. Okay. Like I said, the problem is information. Information is power. Already, we have what I will say the best metering system. Government, in looking after the interest of the common man, they have segmented the market and the pricing. It will interest you to know that you are not paying the same price, even through the smart meter, that an industry, for example, is paying. If you're in residential area, even the residential area has also been divided into categories. So we have the R1, R2, R3. We have commercial, we have industrial, and it's different prices. So in terms of metering and in terms of the price you will pay, they have taken into cognizance the purchasing power of different sectors of the economy.
All right. Come on, guys. Put your hands
I
together.
think
You want to weigh in on that quickly?
Yes, I want to weigh in a bit. I think the area he's talking about is not segmentation or that the price regulation. What he's talking about, because he's saying, look, we should be ready to pay more so that we will have more light. I think what he's asking is, look, now that you are not metering people and you want to charge them more, what would be the better position for them? And that favor you technically and then favor them economically.
Okay.
And that brings us to the same issue. How do you price what the man is consuming when you have refused to meter him and you say pay more? The only solution to it is meter him, you win by charging him more, and then he wins by having lights.
Come on, guys.
Can I briefly respond to
Do
that?
you want to argue with this point?
I want to explain that point better.
Let's hear it.
Please, you see, even under the old system, and as it's were, estimated bill is not just capturing a figure from the sky. No, there's a plan for it.
Right.
What government said is, the disco go to your premises under the old meter, whatever you are using. They look at what you have used for this year, this month. Then they find the average to charge you for the next 3 months. Secondly, I'm coming, sir. Secondly, let's even leave the past. This proposed new hike has not yet come into effect.
Right.
Part of the regulation by NEC is they have said that they are going to release the guideline to answer your question. That guideline will tell them the maximum cap for different households. If you are a one-room container, for example, NEC will look at the average consumption. They will look at for how many hours in a day do you have light in that area. Then they will cap it.
People go to work.
That's what they say. They will cap it. See, now, let me explain this. Because it even says something about maintenance fees. When you say people go to work, fairly, that's correct. But don't also forget that we don't store this energy. Most of my friends from the East, they go home and build a palatial mansion at the home. The disco has to put a pole or several poles to take that light to that house that you are not staying there. You come there only in December, right? Once in a while. When they receive the energy, they push it out. Because we don't know when you will need it. It's there.
All right.
Who should pay for that? So we have to even it out.
All right. Next question. Yes.
Okay.
Your name and who are you directing your question
My
to?
name is Ojo Daniel, and my question goes to you, sir. First of all, sir, do you have a meter? If
Yes,
you
I
have
do.
a meter,
Yes, I do.
you do.
Yes.
Then, sir, I won't mind if you give me your meter so you can go to the aspect so that they can charge you without meter. Now, because NEPAs these days now, they do something of, I call it, is it abnormal charge? Or because they will come to your house.
Crazy bill.
Crazy bill.
That's always
They
been
cut
there.
your lights. That month they cut your light without lights. Then they bring bill of the lights you did not use. And then when you ask them why, they will tell you because they know you will stay.
A pole is connected
The
to your
pole
house.
is connected somehow.
So you pay
It simply
for
means there is light, there is no light, there is tendency of them charging you.
That's not true.
Now, it is, sir. I'm speaking from experience.
Let's
It's
not go there.
information.
Let's
It's
not
lack
go
of
there.
information. I will
Let's
explain.
allow him to finish.
I'm telling you from the customer's
I'm also a
perspective.
customer.
Yes.
Now, for a house, a face me and slap you house of 10 tenants,
Yes.
they bring a bill of about 60-something thousand naira. And then when you ask them why, they will say, that is the bill that, okay, what is the meter you read? They said they have a target for the month. So they distribute a power to a particular sector, then they break it to you. Now, the issue is this. For a family that collects 30,000 minimum wage and you remove 6,000 naira for NEPA alone, school fees of Pekin DDL, he never pay. Why won't those people, I feel, and I also think that it is NEPA's duty, let me say PHCN
no longer have
duty, or
PHCN.
probably the government's duty to get the
Discos.
discos, their duty to speak to the government if they have issue, or the government should allow competition for the discos. Then we will be the one to decide if we can't go with you. Let's go with this person.
Come on. Can I quickly respond to him?
Oh, you want to respond to that
Yes,
quickly?
very-
okay,
very
briefly, because I
quickly.
think liberals also might want to
Yes,
respond
but let
to
me
this
quickly, because he
yeah.
has asked a question.
All
You
right.
see, in answering your question, I will also ask you a question. When you received that crazy bill, what did you do?
And they say pay something.
You see, that's the problem. Like I said from the beginning, information is power.
All right.
Now, let me tell you, there's a system in place. When you receive crazy bill or anything you don't like, you go to your marketing disco and you complain. If it's not resolved within few days, you have the right to escalate it to what they call customer forum. From there, you have a right, and many people have done this successfully. But the problem is,
come on. Information is
is
key.
power. The problem
Information
is
key.
we are not helping each other.
Right.
The regulator sitting over there will not know what you are going through if you don't complain. We have to be active participatory citizenship in this country. We have to stop the situation where we sit back, keep whining and complaining. Nigerians talk and talk, we don't act. If they give me a crazy bill,
Nigerians talk and talk,
Talk,
they don't act.
we
Don't you
don't.
think if some arrests are made, some things will be checked?
how do we make arrests when this man is not
The
taking
man
the case
bringing
to the...
crazy bill, is he not an armed robber?
Sir, assuming, like I said, how do I make the arrest when you have not even complained to me? I've told you now, there are layers of complaint that go up the way to the NRC itself. Now, this man has refused to bring it to their knowledge. So I can't act without information. I can't just arrest somebody without fact and document.
But the facts are there. You are bringing a crazy bill of the light I didn't consume.
That's between
that
you.
in itself is cheating.
That's between you and the disco. That's between you and the disco. Now, how will the regulator intervene on your behalf if you don't bring it to their knowledge? And that's why I'm saying that you should understand
That there's a system in
there's
place.
a system in place for these sort of things, and many people have gotten their own resolved.
I can quickly add to this
Okay.
that I think NEC should do what the CBN does. This attempt to patronize NEC as if they are octopus, for me, is a no-no. Because you have a lot of issues, complaints, that are till today unresolved. Some, they even come to us, they feel, okay, because we see you in the public domain, and so we feel you should be able to complain on our behalf. If you have a complaint against a bank, and you do a letter to the CBN customer service, and I tell you, they will address a forum to address such situation, and then the bank ends up calling you and asking you for reconciliation. But in the case of NEC, people have had cause to complain because like what my friend just said, that's what they do. They tell you we have a target. And so what they do, the light that comes to this transformer, they distribute it among the houses. A man came to my office and said, oh, you have 3 air conditions. And so give and take. He didn't ask me, how many days in a week do you get lights? He said you have 3 air conditions. And so because you have 3 air conditions, give or take, you should be paying 60,000 naira monthly. And I said, how? How many days in a week do you give me light? And I'm paying you 60,000 naira for darkness, and I still run generator in the same office. And so when you escalate this, why we are complaining as consumers today that, look, we're tired of complaining, running from pillar to post to PACN to disco to NEC, because also it costs us money to do all of this movement. Just give us meter, and there won't be complaint. Is the fact that when you escalate these problems, today Alausa will tell you to come. You go to Alausa, sometimes they tell you, okay, yes, just put down submit your petition here, we'll get back to you. And in some cases, people never get back to you. And so how long will people be running back and forth between the discos and the NEC? And so there should be a more transparent, and he also had agreed that information is key. And when a man puts on a lantern and covers it, how do you expect people to see with it?
True, come
You
on.
have information.
Come on, thank you.
If you have information that is beneficial to your customers and then you hide it and you don't want them to know, how do you expect them to know?
Right.
So because you have a very bitter mind, and to use the layman on the streets language, because also you are looking for opportunity to fleece them. And because that's the only way you feel you can make money. And to end all of this, to stop all of this complaint back and forth, let NEC do one thing and one thing only. That, look, this issue of estimated billing is becoming one 15 too many. If you do not provide meter for any house, charge them the lowest rates.
Big kudos to the both of you for how you are explaining things to us. Barrister Libros, I actually pitched my tent with you, but last year, I think May the 1st, the federal government said MAP, Meter Asset Provider, provide meters for consumers. The meters are not there. He also said it now that there is a metering gap. Now, this is a huge problem. There is no scientific way of ascertaining bills for people. So how or what do we do to make sure either we get meters or we get the accurate bills as a people? Thank you.
Come on, put your hands together for that question. Good.
Fantastic. You know, it is not enough for the government to just throw out a policy, map, and then expect that policy to work itself. You must have sat down and with stakeholders and work out a process before you reel out that policy. What did the federal government do before they read out that policy? They said you are encouraging local meter manufacturing. How much of this local meter manufacturing did you visit to ascertain their capacity for manufacturing meter to not just say, give meter, and then what the government did in May was a way of saying, look, there is a problem. We have given instruction and our responsibility ends there. No, the answer is no. You ought to have, like my colleague has said, walk the talk before you give such instruction. I want the government to beat its chest and say, look, we have ascertained that from these companies, they can be manufacturing 3 million meters in a week or two. And so to that extent, we are very sure that this policy that we are reeling out, that in less than so and so months, everybody will have meter. But it's not enough to just say map, and then you expect meter to fall from heaven. And then secondly, to go to your second question, the issue is how do you now ascertain? That is why people, because there is, I think the speaker before the last talked about corruption. We all know that right from the top to the bottom, there's corruption and corrupt tendencies. Yeah. And so to ascertain, to avoid all of those issues, even in the UK that my colleague did mention, do you know that if today your energy provider misbehaves, all you just need is a phone call. And the next thing, it's not when you are in Ikeja, you are stuck with Ikeja. When you are in Lagos, you are stuck with Lagos. No, there are opportunities. But here, because those opportunities are not there, government need to protect the king. And who is the king? The consumer. But here we are not, come on.
Well, of course, the consumer is king, and so far, this has been an enlightening process. But we're not done yet. We switch gears right now to take it home. If you're just joining us, this is still the big... Come on. Welcome back once again. If you're just joining us, this is still the big... Now, you heard the concerns of the public, and I'm sure their questions only mirrors a fraction of everyone watching right now. These gentlemen have also argued the positions very well, and so we have come to that point where we need to wind up, but that won't happen until we have heard the final submission on the issue. Now, should proper metering system precede tariff hike? Now, gentlemen, quickly, your final thoughts before we round this off.
I will say this. Metering everybody is the correct thing to do. And it's the thing that, and it's the thing that the government, the discourse, the NERC has promised to do. But like I said, in the interim, what do we do? Are we going to continue kicking the can down the line, lying to ourselves what we have been doing the last 10, 15 years, since 2005? Oh, if you don't give us meters, please don't charge us. You gave an example of a man that said, don't disconnect me because I don't have light. So why don't you want them to disconnect just because you don't have light? What are you protecting? The truth of the matter, like I said, is it's not popular. It's not popular, but we don't like paying for services.
All right.
I insist that for us to realize our potentials in this country, we must be able and be ready and be willing to pay appropriate pricing. Thank you very much.
It's your turn now to round this up quickly.
Yeah, to correct an impression, the man didn't say don't disconnect me because I didn't have light. The man said, don't take the wire away because it doesn't belong to you. I paid for it. And so it wasn't because he didn't have light.
All right.
And so, while we agree, like I said at the beginning, if you want to charge ₦1 million per kilowatt, you are free to do that. It's a business. It's not a social service that you say, okay, look, let us charge you first, and then we can now begin to provide meter for you. If you want to build a house, you put the foundation, and then you put blocks, you put a roof. You don't say, okay, let me put a roof, and then bring the blocks later. It doesn't work that way. And so the way it works, since you know you are going into this business to make money, and it should be a win-win situation for all of us, the thing should be, now that you say you have inherited, a moribund distribution network, and that they were not working, you need to put money in it. If you cannot manage it, hands off, and allow those that can manage it to take over. And then, if you want to manage it, then do the right thing, do the foundation, put a meter, so that when you give me electricity, you can know what I consume, because it will be a win-win situation. I don't want to cheat you. In the same vein, I don't want you to cheat me.
Thank you very much. Come on, guys, you can do better than that. Come on. All right, now, in the usual fashion, and it's been a very, very heated argument, and, we can't just walk away from this scene like that. The both of you just need to shake hands before we round this off quickly.
No, we are brothers. We are brothers.
Good to have you guys.
Yeah, nice one.
Go back to your post now. All right, then, now you heard them. It's been an exciting outing with Barrister Libros Oshoma and Barrister Oluwaseye Lawan on electricity tariff hike. Now, before we go, let's take this quote from Nikola Tesla. All right, all people everywhere should have free energy sources. Electric power is everywhere present in unlimited quantities and can drive the world's machinery without the need for coal, oil, or gas. Now, follow the conversation on our social media handles at TVC Connect and, of course, at TVC News Nigeria. My personal handle is Mark Otabo. Now, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, I will engage you with the hashtag #TheBigIssue. I'll always tell you, if the issue is not big enough, it has no business here. Till we meet again, it's always going to be the big issue. Thank you very much.